to share my journal 2 and how my practicum work is progressing. I decided after meeting with the ILS that the best way to present some material on the characteristics of the gifted and developing empathy for the gifted in our school and meeting those needs of those special learners, we would push out a Nearpod. And so I've created the Nearpod in the last time, and now we are ready for it to be pushed out. So that happened the week of March 20th, and got some excellent feedback. It was positive in the beginning, and I feel very good about the um, the approach that the teachers took to it. Um, I realized that I found a special characteristics video for it to kind of review for those who had no idea. And I realized there was a lot of new teachers that had no idea. And because, I get in my own little mindset that I forget there are teachers that have never thought of this population because the population for them just takes care of themselves, especially new teachers because they're so overwhelmed. So I thought about the different things and created a spreadsheet report from all the emails and the feedback specifically in the Nearpod. I thought about should I start addressing the social emotional needs of the gifted at this time, but then again realizing that there were so many that just had questions about actually educating and the developing differentiated lesson plans and so on. I decided to use that for a later date, maybe next year, follow up with that. Right now, we went through and analyzed and made note of their questions. Then I started gathering ideas that I could work with them in order to address the needs that they had. And I've got artifacts again that I've created the spreadsheet. I've got emails, meeting notes. And then I went back, of course, to our NAGC standards and tried to think where I could implement them and help the teachers. So we had no classes over spring break, so I couldn't actually meet with them, but I did review the reports and start planning some possible activities when I followed up with them the next week. And so this past week, I met with two social studies PLCs. So those were groups of about 3 or 4 teachers. And then we created some possible lessons and discussed their specific standards in world history and American history. And went over again some other ideas that I could follow up with specific teachers that are in a variety from chorus to one in the home ec department and then one in the CTAV. So again, this experience made me realize that I have worked with students because I've taught gifted for so long of all different ages and all different subject areas. And again, I've come to realization I am an expert now in education, and it is my duty to share this knowledge with the teachers that are um, new. So I went and pulled their lessons and thought about their standards, and we talked about how we could adapt activities and so on. And that's where we're headed right now. I'm going to be working with them to finalize some of these activities and help them um, meet those needs. And I figure if I'm doing it correctly, I can start advocating within these differentiated lessons and just sharing the different journal articles that I have on why this is important to do. I can also work with them on meeting some social and emotional needs without overwhelming them because I have to be aware of their social emotional needs, and new teachers are so fragile. I met with one teacher in language arts that it's her first year, and she is so overwhelmed, and she has a variety. She doesn't have honors, but I know that there are some underrepresented populations in her classes, specifically in our Hispanic population, that I think she could find some ways of meeting those needs because they are still in ESOL, but these kids are doing English